And obviously, let's see what they get back if they indeed decide to trade him. But I already know what they're going to get back, which is prospects. And you never know what the hell prospects are going to be. So I'll be annoyed. I'll be very annoyed if they trade Pete. Here we go. What?
Every great baseball player was a prospect. Just remember that.
What does that mean, though? That means you take an already known great baseball player to get other prospects where you hope they'll be 50 to 75% of that great player you just traded?
Not a prospect, many prospects.
So what does that mean, though?
What does that mean? What if you end up with 2 Pete Alonsos, which is very much
possible?
What
are the odds of that? Walk me through the trades where that ended up being the result.
First time for everything, Ev.
I mean, come on, though. That's your answer?
No, but I'm saying
there's no trade that backs that up.
You're not doing a one-for-one swap. I can't do Pete Alonso. We're going to do Pete Alonso for the next 4 months.
Well, no, he brought it up. I'm answering the question.
I can't do Pete Alonso anymore.
And you can't tell me, well, what if you get 2 Pete Alonsos back? There's no trade in the last 50 years that backs up that point. Not one. Right. You can't think of one.
And you know what else hasn't happened in our lifetime
What's
either?
That?
Well, I guess yours. The Mets haven't won a World Series either. So how about we reshape this thing a little bit?
So just trade him because, well, they haven't won a World Series since 1986. You're not trading him
for a bag of balls. You're trading him because he's going to ask for the moon. There clearly is a problem there.
You're trading him for... There is no clear problem. Just because you say it and others repeat it doesn't mean there's a problem.
Evan, if enough people are saying something...
What are they saying? Have some balls and say it then. What's the problem?
Well, you heard what Sal said.
What's the problem?
You heard what Sal said.
What's the problem?
We don't know what the problem is.
We don't know what the problem is. You just said we don't know what the problem is.
Hold on.
What the hell's the problem?
No, we're going to have a little respect for our coworker here, Sal, for a second. Sal Licata.
All Sal said is I did my homework. There's problems in the locker room.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? Take the best player and put it on him?
Well, clearly, he may not be
just
the problem.
Just because you say it doesn't make it true.
But you're not factoring in this other part.
What am I not factoring?
If the locker room is rotten and you have to get rid of a piece, maybe Pete Alonso's not the right piece to get rid of, but he is the movable piece because he has a year left on his deal.
The locker room being rotten is based on what?
So
it's based on what?
I'm basing it on the fact that...
I'm basing it on what? Are you in the locker room?
No,
have you ever been in the Met locker room? So you're telling me it's not... Has he been in the Met locker room?
No, but you know what?
You guys haven't been in the Met locker room.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're going to lecture everybody about what's wrong with the Met locker room?
No, you know what, though?
You take a lap.
No, this is where I'm not going to take a lap. Sal Licata's not an idiot, all right? He works for SNY, the Mets network. He is there every day. You think he's not talking to people there that maybe, let's just say, also don't have the stones to say what's going on in the Met locker room?
So now people don't have the stones to say what's in the Met locker room?
Look, I'm just putting
two
two
what's
together.
going on in the Met locker room.
I don't know what it is. I'm not in SNY. I'm not working with Sal, but Sal said this on our airwaves, and he loves Pete Alonso. He doesn't want to see Pete Alonso get traded. He got crushed for it, and that wasn't wrong. Can we all use our brains and realize...
What does our brain say? That Pete's a problem in the Met locker room, and the Mets have to trade him?
Our own guy on our midday show said this may be the only answer to solving an issue, and he works at another place and is surrounded by people who are in the locker room.
So then someone from that place should have the balls to say what's wrong with the Met locker room.
They should say it.
Mike Puma did a whole feature trying to figure out what's wrong in the Met locker room, and nothing came back to Pete Alonso or Francisco Lindor or the core of that room.
So
what conclusion have you come to then?
I mean, I think there's clearly something there with Lindor.
Based on what?
Based on everybody who knows anybody in the locker room saying this.
No one says anything. The only thing I heard after the fact, the only thing I heard after the fact was, boy, the pitchers used to talk a lot last year. Now they didn't talk this season.
Okay.
That was the thing that Steve Gelbs brought up after the Mets decided to trade Scherzer and trade Verlander.
The stupid car thing with McNeil and Lindor.
Like that's a thing.
But Evan,
that matters.
Evan.
So then trade Jeff McNeil if that's a problem.
Okay, fair. But then you're not going to get the return you're getting. If Alonso stuck his neck out for McNeil, if that's what happened, I have no idea. And that caused a rift between him and Lindor, and you can't move Lindor. Well, so be it. This is where you can get, your obviously pieces back for Alonso. I am not in the locker room. I am just going based on what we've heard.
You're not in the locker room.
But
yet
Evan,
you hear things.
Evan,
you're not in the room to know what damn thing. And by the way, neither am I. I'm not in the Met locker room. That's why I'm not reporting that this is a problem and that's a problem and this guy needs to be traded. I'm not trying to pretend I'm there either.
I give Sal credit for at least saying on the air, basically, he's around people. He's around people who are in the locker room. Now, why those people aren't flat out reporting it, I don't know.
Okay, well, there's your issue.
I don't know.
That's my only issue.
But I know he didn't sit here and turn on the microphone and make up something.
If you're in the room and there are issues in
broadcaster.
He's not a reporter, though, and he knows that.
He knows he's not a reporter. None of us are reporters.
So then stop reporting stuff if you're not a reporter, then. You're not a freaking reporter. You haven't been in the Met locker room, yet you're so confident to say, well, there's a problem in that room. This guy's got to go, and that guy's got to go.
This is where I think you're wrong. If you hear something and you rely and you trust those people you hear it from, and you present it on the way to microphone, this is what I'm hearing. It's not a report.
What are you hearing?
I'm playing the role of Sal that
What
day.
are you? You're not Sal. You're you. What the hell are you hearing about the Met locker room? Go ahead.
I'm not hearing. I listened to that show that day.
And what are you hearing?
He indicated that there was a problem in that locker room.
And what is it?
That Lindor and Alonso do not get along, and there's choosing of sides.
So they've got to trade Pete Alonso.
I don't think they got to trade him, but if that
because
locker
the
room
two
is
best
truly
players
fractured,
don't get along, just like the '86 Mets never got along. Were they trading Keith Hernandez and Gary Carter and Darryl Strawberry, and they all didn't like each other?
Have athletes not changed? This ain't '86 anymore. We just went through the tribute video thing. Athletes are softer.
So what does that mean? You have to get rid of guys if they don't get along with each other?
You don't have to get there, but if this team is in last place,
this team is in last place because they couldn't pitch.
Evan,
like we can't. It's easy to diagnose what's wrong with the Mets as opposed to trying to figure out. Well, it must be the locker room. It wasn't just the locker room. Their pitching sucked this year.
No doubt.
That's why the Mets are in last place. So why do we need to try to invent things to figure out? Well, this is why the team went bad.
There doesn't have to be one singular problem, but you're doing something that we're all guilty of.
What's that?
You are a diehard fan of the New York Mets. Okay, you love Pete Alonso. I don't know how you feel about Francisco Lindor. I don't know how you feel about certain guys on the team, but we all do this. We want to not believe things when we hear them.
What I don't want to do is trade guys based on the idea of, well, maybe they don't like each other, and the only way to fix it is to decide between two really good baseball players. You figure it out. You change the locker room around those guys. You don't take your best player and trade them away just because you have a hunch or Sal has a hunch or I hear whispers at SNY. Well, then say what you've heard.
Okay.
What have you heard?
What have
You've heard
nothing
because you're not a damn reporter.
I'm not pretending to be
You've never
one.
been in the Met locker room.
Steve Cohen's been in the locker room, and all we've seen is rumor after rumor after rumor from freaking Ken Rosenthal now, Bob Nightingale. How many people?
And you're convinced that that's because of the room and not because they differentiate on a contract?
Home runs a year. He's a unicorn home run hitter for the Mets, and the Mets, under a Met fan that is owning the team, are openly having trade discussions that every reputable reporter is now reporting. Right. Why is that?
Because of the difference.
Stop dancing around
because of the difference in contracts, not because of the fact that they view him as the reason and the problem in the locker room. Because the Mets view Pete Alonso making this amount of money for this amount of years, and Pete's people view him as making this amount of money for this amount of years.
The one owner in baseball that every other owner was paranoid was going to reshape baseball because he had endless pockets, now has his homegrown first baseman who, he could outbid anybody for. And he is going to now thumb his nose at Pete Alonso and the idea that he won't write the check to him. Why? Why is that the case? Why would Cohen do that unless Cohen knows there's something wrong in that row?
Because Cohen is a businessman, and he doesn't have that same emotional ties that I have and other Met fans have.
He's not Elon Musk shooting the Mets off into space. He's a Met fan
who couldn't wait to say goodbye to DeGrom. They never made him a serious offer.
And it was the right call.
Because they didn't think it was the right business decision. So the issues with Alonso...
think it was the right baseball decision. Because DeGrom had been banged up those couple years beforehand.
Right. That's why.
Look, you love Alonso, and that's great. And I'm sure he's a great guy and everything else.
Oh, no, he's not a great guy. He's a bad guy who needs to be... You, basically.
No, I didn't. No,
they got to move him.
Maybe Lindor's the bad guy, but he's unmovable.
He's a problem in the room.
Or
they have to
maybe
choose
neither are a bad guy, but they don't get along to the fact... And again...
Exactly. You don't know. Repeat that again.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah, Evan, I'm not pretending I know.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Are you out of your mind?
You're talking very confidently like you know exactly what's in the room.
Because how about this? How about I have trust in a man who sits there before us in Salicata to know that he's not pulling things out of thin air and he loves Alonso. And we've all sat there and ignored it, despite the fact that every week, and you led with this yesterday, how you're tired of hearing about it, yet every actual reporter who's covering these teams
every reporter is basing it on the contract, not the fact he's an issue in the locker room.
I've mentioned
that's what you're reporting.
Because both things could be true. No. He's the only contract out of the core of that locker room where something could be missing that is movable. And if it's not just about that, then there should be no reason Steve Cohen should not sign him. There should be no reason. Money should not be an issue for the Mets anymore. So there's something more than just the business money aspect.
Oh, it's all business. I don't think there's anything having to do with that locker room.
I think we're all trying to pretend that something's not wrong and something's wrong.
Well, what's wrong?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm not ignorant to say that something can't be wrong.
No. I respect.
Clearly, this owner should be spending money
I
on him, and he's
appreciate
not.
that you could admit when you don't know. You don't know.
But I'm also not going to just say it can't be true. You're saying it can't be true.
I didn't say it can't be true. I'm saying that's not the reason to deal him. That's not a good enough reason.
So, the owner where money should be no issue, you finally have a homegrown 40-home run hitter, and now he's willing to trade him. I'm sorry. Any Met fan who doesn't see this right now, there's clearly something that we're not willing to admit is going on because we don't want to believe it. We don't want to believe that there's a problem in the Met locker room, and that's fine. There's clearly has to be something there. Otherwise, Steve Cohen would be the worst businessman on the planet not to pay Pete Alonso.
So